Tears from the bottom of the night. How to raise your boring boyfriends. Ichiranide, Nasina-san. Or softcore, not to rate Sindame. Sindame the animation, many titles been that have been thinking of Call of the Night. We can't deny that Call of the Night has the artistic representations of the anime. Rather, it would be quite challenging for the anime to have artistic representation executions and still being able to tell the story in the way that represents the socials, that's still connected, that's still related, that's still coherent, that's still we still understand, even if it's elitist, even if it's casual viewer, which I have been really not wanting to separate these two. I still think that people who have watched a lot of anime and people who have watched not so much anime, or people who not want to get into the anime that much, still could enjoy Call of the Night, I'd say. Especially for I'll not say specific age, but really anyone. This is the punchline arc of Call of the Night. Watch it. I was wrong about Call of the Night being complex philosophy anime, as Call of the Night only being simple slice of life feel good anime, which we will see in the episode 6 that that's not the case when I see from the first place. What I mean is that I review this anime as to myself based on the assumptions that this anime is the anime that has artistic representation, symbolic point that is about philosophy of life and social status, Japanese culture. But rather, this anime is only about the few good moments fan service here and there, with the side theme that is social criticisms. So I will now review this anime based on that assumptions. This anime deliberately being nonsense because it needed to convey the message. From episode 4 and 5, kind of few moments, but in episode 6 of Call of the Night goes deeper into message that this anime trying to say good for ending of arc 2, half of the anime. At first, it seems to be normal, wholesome anime, but as time passes, there are many social criticisms of what wrong and what right. Not that the anime extremely judgy, not that the anime judge in that places that what is wrong, what is right about the anime, it's pretty clear what Call of the Night sides is in the perception of the society, in the perceptions of the working culture of the Japanese, of the kids in Japanese. Not that I know it, but the Call of the Night not trying to actively judge what is wrong, what is just, what is not just, but Call of the Night trying to present the society convey through the supernatural topics, convey through the topics of the view, the perceptions of these shows, the perceptions of the people who is working in the Middle Age. Many of the character that I see first seems to be the character that is not relevant, like Asai. Also has some moments that also convey the message that the anime trying to convey. Episode 6 of Call of the Night kind of goes into the deeper meaning of the perception of the societies. At first it seemed normal, wholesome anime, but as time passes in the arc 2, anime start to many social criticisms of what wrong, of what right. We need to interpret it. Symbolism, character growth, philosophical concerns, Japanese cultures, more than a mere expositional dialogue. In the first episode, we will see growth and what is really mean. what night really means, what nature, what vampires. That seems to be nonsense at first. That has some meanings, that has to relate it to the character, that has a meaning that more than just existing for the sake of fan service, for the sake of being one of the theme that just sits there and being the side themes. And the few moments of this anime that isn't that ugly, to be honest. Most of the scenes has stellar directing, even though animation proportions of the Nasina fail. The composition in the directing still drag the anime on, and still consistently executed presentations. And some scenes have some hentai-ish presentation that made my eyes wet. For example, the scenes of that Nasina trying to massage Ko, which just Danju, that's real Jew, something pressure points that I've tried and realized, and it works. It's kind of informative too, as expect from the producer that made that is, I don't know if it's producer or anything, that is in a lot of hentai in the first scenes, in the first screens. That is Notamin A, which in Onijiji, which in some hentai that I've watched before. This presents go of Nasuna girls of her experience co-emotion new character. At first, I didn't understand the character of Asai along the rewatch. She's character's support core with her slowly understand of the night. Although it isn't that as stellar as the arc of the middle age of the Shinsaki, I believe, that comes later. Still, as I have a lot of the roles that also important to convey the message, is being one of the person that um, that is presents the Joshikose current situation of Joshikose, who doesn't have parents, whose life is empty, who's in the modern Joshikose girl, I believe. Didn't notice at first, but in some scenes as showing Nazuna and Liu Jake actually have meaning of Nazuna wanting to experience something with Ko. More after that in the Pew scenes, last episode 6. Nazuna experienced Ko jealousy, although she could when she said she actually have drink all those blood. The point is many scenes seems to be hollow at first, but when rewatch, some meaning appears to the brains. Supernatural elements at first look like nonsense, but the point of it is to be nonsense that suddenly appears for no reason, and you understanding it from the watching episode 6. Being vampire has kept the real life. Arc 2 answers every problem that have been curious about Cover Night, strikes the social problem, progressing the character. Overall scores of Cover Night Arc 2, Episode 4 to Episode 6 is great. What actually made a quality feel-good anime? I'm not actually talking about the anime in general, because the anime in general is flexible, it is complete art. Everyone have different interpretations, but it actually quite obvious about it, which anime like in Mao, which has the scores of 5, the scores of 6, what define them? Like shitty Osama game, or this kind of death game, dumb shit anime. There's actually quite a define quality about those kind of things in the anime, where like the plot, how the reasonable things happening in the anime, it actually quite obvious in those kind of anime, but in actually healing, in actually source of life, in actually not only just romance, uh, not only just anime that relies on another like Nagino's horror that rely on another aspects either. It actually these complete feel good, complete comedy anime, unreasonable anime. For example, Flying Wish, Annie Happy. This anime in the type of anime that's going to give off from place to place, crack jokes here and there for the whole anime. There is not really the thing that connected or anything that you can call this anime good or bad or what it's actually friggin' flexible with this kind of anime. Hyoga most give up slice of life anime Akebi-chan no Sailor Fuku, Komi-san, Aharen also the case. In case of Hyoga, I cannot call it complete Iyashike or healing anime because it's actually structured. There's actually something going on. The relationship with the character, the mystery, something that's going on. But if we were to it half Iyashike, half feel good anime. If you were to zoom out a bit, we actually see that Hyoga doesn't have really that coherent uh, quarter arc. That's actually just maybe I'm wrong here, but I've seen always scenes Hyoga as being the mystery anime that has somewhat Iyashike elements. It's hard to say, but they definitely have the character arc of Oriki Hotaru as he being slowly changed through the whole course of run. The thing I've found that could be said about it is variation of this kind of anime. Variation in the joke, humors, comedy, variation in the story, variation in feelings, drama, conflict. But that's just not enough in this anime. Aharen-san wa Hakaranai, even though there is been the joke, reference, but there is just not enough weight in the action of cracking joke. Why I do like MM more than Aharen is because of the fact that Aharen does pit itself on high with the joke, with the story. There is depth. There is something about Aharen symbolism of silent joke that says about reference and society, but over time has become less connected and nonsense without a real meaning to the joke. In MM case, because of the fact that MM is being consistent with the fact that MM being nonsense throughout the whole anime. Nonsense but fun, but being creative with its joke. Even it has no story, no weight, being over the top still it's easy to enjoy MM without expecting too much of it. MM is actually an anime from Seibek in 2011 which talks about the fetishes, talk about the harem genre in a way that I don't know who think about. It's from it's adaptation from the novel, and it just came out of nowhere. We don't know anything about the authors. It just came out, so it's kind of without the context. It's kind of hard to say which this kind of group of this kind of anime came from. Cover Night is actually put in value of the fan service and few moments, which is fair for the anime itself. This is actually quite a few anime that I've seen that still being coherent and having the artistic storyline. While she have dark background saying about the character and skill situation, I think Cover Night placement of the anime is content in itself. In Cover Night there is 4 main elements, at least that I can think of right now. That is supernatural part, fanservice, shoes moments between the character, and representation of the socials. As I say before, we don't know about the part of supernatural stuff, which, when gauging about the fact of how Kokung live, the element of, at least when I watched the episode 4, the elements of the supernatural is completely comical without the context. When I watch episode 4, I completely don't know what plan about, because it actually being that way, because deliberately being that way, being the comical elements that exist for no reason, being nonsense. And at this point, symbolism and socio commentary, social uh, representation is almost non-existent. And boom, in episode 6. For now, I will review on based on the fact that if I watch episode 4 and still don't go into the episode 5 or 6, yes, as I say before, we don't know about supernatural stuff of how Kokun gauged the life. There was no way that viewers will have been known about life of Nasuna and Ko, because there's no progressions at all. Progression I can see from Ko and Nasuna is the fact that the anime fan services, for example, in the scenes on the stair when Ko follow Nasuna, we only see a little misunderstanding and cute teasings. Sure, if you would call that progressing, I still let it pass. All in all, it just seems to be cute fan service between Nasuna and Ko. Don't even talk about Asai though. Her character seems to be not contribute anything. If you say she caused that little misunderstanding, sure, I will not argue the and conversations. Asai just convinced him not to go to the school, portray herself as normal student who is detached from the society. By this point, Asuna doesn't really have anything to do with Ko yet, other than she's going out with him, teasing him. Character-wise, story-wise, this anime seems not really goes deeper than that, but rather this anime wanted to show the Shield scenes. I think this anime wanted to show how Shield Knight is a bit of fortune telling, but that's just what I think before I goes to watch episode 6. The point of Socio doesn't really present much in this episode either. This anime constructed by series of Shield moments together. The conversation in this anime deliver in silence kind of way. We seem to gist off the BGM, background music, but overall, it's kind of surreal experience when we talk to anyone in the night. Good wife though. And this episode doesn't explore much rather than just chilling off and fan service. I would say a lot about what I think other episode and other topics. Jerk and chill moments in this anime seems to goes into wholesome jealousy joke, a bit of Doki Doki Literature Club reference, which is the visual novel that distribute for free on the Steam. Other things that have some booms in the past. Other things like the feeling of Flash doesn't turns into Imori into vampire. Quite interesting, I say this before, that we doesn't know how life of Ko is progressing, or could it be that Nasuna deceive him just to last to her, so he doesn't love her instead? That would be bigger brain to me. What more interesting about this anime is the fact that about the right directing, whether it would be in the dark room or Nasune clothes. Just jumpy. The directing is surreal. Gave a vibe that I am craving, even though I accept that some scenes, animation and lighting doesn't being that quality sticks to what direction goes. But we have to accept that director guide the directions for this anime to be gorgeous, because it's animation, it's not slideshow. Score is good in the episode 4. Notamin A. I just noticed that the name at the beginning is the producer or studio that related to the hentai I've watched in the past. No wonder the fanservice scene is smooth, like the scenes that have messaging. Like the name Notamin I've noticed since the past hentai that I've watched. I questions the fact that there is glasses at the bathhouse that Nasuna is in, though people won't see in it, or reception person won't see people in bath. I don't know because I haven't been to one. It was these simple moments I think that I am craving for in many slice of life comedy anime that I've watched, and Cover Night delivered nicely such simpleness of the situation and conversations. Remember, this is all happened at the night. It seems to be that each of the character kind of feels chill and floaty. Turns out it was all the social reflections, comparison of blood-sucked, use of the blood of co. The societies don't support a kids to know themselves or cultivate individuality or care about our psyche. We know this really well. Many anime have a say about this. There's so many things to do, many great things, many interesting things in this world, but many human or kids incapable of knowing it or realize it because we flooded with many false information and many stupid shitty things in our life that we face that people who really incapable of knowing it throw at us throw it at us. It's a plague. The victim is many talented or normal kids at school result in people like Ko doesn't know their own feeling. Call the Knight tried to make Ko as a cartograph to know the feeling of himself, what is life, what to do with this life. By being with Nasane, who isn't even a human, shown mistake of human society. Mostly she moments of bath, cuddling, and I kinda get the idea that letting Ko goes to the world experience bunch of emotions, with Nasane to taste his blood, to know his emotion, to connect deeper with him. This anime kinda remind me of Nagatoro though. At times when I watch Nagatoro I kinda brain dead. But Nagatoro has the same concept of teasings and letting senpai artists know himself and growing with Nagatoro, though my memory at that regards is vague, which is a good thing because I still know that Cover Knight still knows what Ko wanted, other thing that Ko have want, and Nasuna goes. There's many anime like Nagatoro in the past years though. Shikimori-san also the case though we doesn't really seem to talk about that much because when Shikimori comes and seems to be famous but it just falls into the niches. And Syndrome manga about teasing about it is actually really soft core in Cover Night, really soft core teasing, really soft core HG fan service harem compared to Syndrome, but the ideas is basically the same. Nothing wanted Ko to be more to with teasings with a lot of teasing with a lot of the seems to not caring, but actually Ko grows as a person, experience many emotion for Nasina as they grow into the world. And a bit of teasings, a bit of here and there comedies moments. But the fact that the art style of Call Night is more dark, is darker than Syndrome is kind of shocked me a bit because because Syndrome have this kind of it's the matter of like my preference, but Syndrome actually have kind of the more realistic but tone of the Syndrome eyes and anything just feels kind of cuter to me. Maybe I'm crazy, but many people say the opposite though. And It's weird to say, but voice acting of Nasuna that is crispy sounds it's so warm to me and assuring. As far as everyone can tell, I am hikikomori to the lover, honey, delusional fake anime scholar. But I will not go into the whole of Cover Night. But if anyone tried to do anything to Nasuna before the cuddling service, but she is vampire though, she is stronger than normal human. But you didn't see her powers yet. But she could jump from the high floor of building, and this is wholesome anime that get your thought running. Naughty boys. And holy god, hentai each type of the animation and fan service is freaking great. Nasuna doesn't just tease, but rather she is also making Cole live alive. But maybe she is also using Cole. The score of Cover Night episode 5 is the social is great. The social commentary, the everything is slowly seeps through a bit through the Cover Night episode 5. Slowly seep through many ideas, many goals of Nasuna wanting to make Cole stronger, experience more emotions of the world, and many things slowly seep through episode 5, and it will only getting better after this. I understand that feeling. I understand the feeling of wanting to escape. I cry when she cried. I want to give her a hug, but it's not on screen. I'm not on screen. I am not the anime character, sadly. I rarely see anime talked about the topics of going to work, going to school, and it's painful, and that's exactly what I'm feeling. Well, Yari and most of the some rom-com anime, some slice of life anime has been said about these topics. The topics of going to school, the topics of the criticisms towards the system of the school, the system of work, Japanese cultures. But anime like Yahari, anime like Shiki, anime like that have criticism points towards the society have been, a lot of them has been the, most of them feels like the textbooks. I don't actually watching the anime, I actually watching someone who is lecturing me. But in case of Fall of the Night, Call of the Night, it feels different somehow. It feels like I watch the anime, well, the anime points the criticism towards represent perceptions about the societies. This is also the case for Sundame, a manga that I must also have some criticism towards fetishes. Anime like MM also have some criticism towards and commentary towards the fetishes, towards the society, but not in a way that we can easily understand that points like Cover Night does. Supernatural theme, I think this anime put in for no reason. This anime really criticizes the socials in a way that I don't see for a long time. This anime remind me of Sundame manga. It is a baby Sundame, softcore Sundame. Sundame in the version that is more wholesome. It's I hate for give an outstanding Cover Night episode 6 says a lot about the socials. Being vampire isn't meaningless. Supernatural vampire isn't meaningless in this anime. The theme that I've been for a long time think that it is meaningless. The relationship of Ko and Nasuna slowly climbing. There's actually goes towards the supernatural themes in this anime. That scenes in front of the pool reminds me of rewarding scenes in Sundame thought because Nasuna gave a reward to Ko, so Ko try hard at something and have something in life for Nasuna. For Nasuna core concept of Call of the Night quite resemble to Sundame. As in Sundame, Sahana is actually getting the him getting the main protagonist to works towards himself, work towards bettering himself to serve her, giving himself meaning to live, and works to and wow service the viewers. Me too. Sometimes I understand the reason for of adults and see them painful, so I can't help but to sympathize with them. Even though we are just kids, but as a child, you doesn't have much of the useless information in your head, so you're more smart faster than the adult. Being adult tends to be painful, and sometimes you doesn't have the freedom to release your emotions and just live like a living corpse. There is also some lucky person, but for me, ordinary people, I need to endure a lot of these. In Cover Night, the Shirakawa says that the school is not like work. This I don't agree, especially for extremely social awkward like me. I understand feeling of her. I have to press my emotion painful every day. Teachers pressuring me. I don't do what I love. I have got a lot of force to do things. It's especially harder for kids. You have to be in a room without private space. Without private space is actually important for people who is having a lot of the social anxiety like me. I need a place for me to cope, for me to do something without people really just stares at me at everything I do. You can't do anything that is different. It's different from the internet. It's not that different from the internet though, but in case of the internet, you could have do something unique and people praise you, and you kind of have the private space of like you don't have to get too bullied by in physical senses. It's harder to say, but like you lost your time. You have to be with people you don't like gotten bullied. At least what I face, there's more. So I understand the emotions of her. I think if that's the case, school and workplace isn't that different. It is a place that take away your freedoms. Sure, there is sometimes that the boss calls you, or the boss call you at the unreasonable hours like midnight. But in case of workplace, I agree that that's the case that is really fucked up. You already get your your time to relax after the work. Why the teacher should call you. But in case of the school, we have the thing about homeworks instead. Like if you cannot do your homework, you you need to sacrifice at least 1 or 2 or 3 hours. In case of the people who is slower, there's like, you know, sacrifice your sleep, and it's real fuck up things. You get to copy your friends, and it's not really the thing that is reasonable for people to do. Like you should teach your students to do the thing in the room at least in when you are going to the school before giving unreasonable homework. But that's just another topics. And in case of the Japanese cultures about the alcohol, you need to drink alcohol to get into the society and stuff, which from my outside perspective, from the outsiders, I think that's also not a thing that is healthy for everyone. That is not a thing that you should, especially for the countries that is already upgraded, that is already advanced, like Japan. I don't think you should enforce people or trying to support the alcohol stuff because it's ruined your health, and Also, if like in my countries, like there is a lot of people who drive the cars at night because they are drunk and already crash it a lot because of that. And so I don't know if that's the case in Japan, but because in Japan has the train, so you shouldn't dive. You you don't have to drive a cars. But it's also the case because, but it's also dangerous because you could fall into some um, buildings, or you could got into the troubles drunk by drinking alcohol. And I don't think the countries like Japan, um, I know that there are black companies and a lot of fucked up things that happen. Japan is not that paradise, and there's many uh, Japan is already, a lot of thing is under the rock. But as an outsider, I know that Japan is supporting drinking alcohol, which from outside perspective, I think that is not the thing that should be, because it has a lot of cons. It has a lot of bad thing could happen by you drinking alcohol. It shouldn't be this. Uh, this is a bad thing because it is even well known for me in outsiders, and so I think this is kind of the time that you not really, it's ingrained in the culture already. I cannot fix anything, but um, please don't support, don't force people to drink it if they don't want to. It's ruin their health, and it's painful, especially painful rather than fun. Anyway, there's also the time that I suddenly cried like her because it is painful, cried like Shirakawa. So I don't think we are that different regardless of age. We felt the same. I felt that emotion, and at the times I watch her cry, my tears is also fall. I also related to Cole. Not to lose the emotion, it feels good at night. You can feel free, you can walk everywhere, and freedom. But at times, like Shirakawa, it feel disappears, such a sad things. The feelings of not wanting to lose that feeling. Drinking at the party, of the company of the band. Although I don't experience it, I think it would be kinda suck to have forced to drink and go home late. But compared to me, that life is empty. Maybe it's better. I don't know. I don't know. Japanese culture commentary presence in Cover Night. In the pool scenes, I don't know what is the case with these two guys that hitting on Nasuna. Maybe they're just a wholesome person. I don't know. I don't know what the scene is trying to represent. But back to the cases of working. I don't know about working that much, especially for the office worker. But you immensely more painful, but you immensely in more danger if you don't laugh, if you don't do anything that is into places not uh getting attention from the people at work, because you could get a lot more in trouble, especially as an adult. In especially is an adult and is in the culture as strict as Japan does. Because I in the schools, I remember a lot of the schools experience that um you you got protected by something, you got protected by someone monitoring you, and you don't have to, sure there's also some dangers, but it also the places that there's a lot of watchdog, there's a lot of people who watch you. But in case of working, in case of the working space, it's immensely dangerous because you need to look for yourself. You need to protect yourself. No one protecting you. The one that should protecting you, the boss, your boss, is the one that is the most dangerous because I heard that they could do anything to you. They could say hurrah. They could, you know, say bad things to you, and it's kind of painful to see a lot of people have that experience as I grow. So I think the working space is more dangerous than the space that uh, the school space. In a sense, the school also has something that is dangerous, like bullying, like you're kids and you're stupid, and you, me, I am a kid, and not everyone. I am stupid. I just maybe just got bullied. Maybe just um because I don't know. It's more painful because I'm stupid when I was a kid. I don't know, but I think that it's varies. But if I say, I think working might in a right environment might be better. It depends. But I still think that the school skills is more painful for kids. Boss calls, I think also is stupid things like I think office worker have to face it. It's immensely worse. It's clear that the anime trying to criticize overly rational enforcements of Japanese as well as other cultures, which I am agree it has to be more flexible. I commend the presentation from using the empty road portray freedom at night vampire as being symbolic of flexibility and free life. Nonsense, but somehow makes sense. Stupid, but somehow plausible. We jealous of it. Point of vampire in Cover Night is not to be reasonable gimmicks, but rather not being nature of things, not being in the common sense thing, being stupid, dumb nonsense that just exists is the vampire. Feel like trying to balance between feel pure freedom and fake in the night poo is fake and awkward pressure. Symbolic meaning in poo scenes. Probably about Nasuna wanting to taste every emotion of Ko, so she teased Ko. Character growth in this episode of Ko understand himself in Shirakawa of Nasuna understanding about world that is nonsense. She tossed her many society commentary Japanese culture of wanting to be free. Very symbolic. This episode top tier. The score is outstandings.